The Death of Superman is coming up at the end of this year. The first part of a two-part animated feature, so two animated movies. First one, The Death of Superman, followed up by The Reign of the Superman, which is going to come out in 2019, at the beginning of 2019. And they have released the first little frame of artwork from that movie. So we're going to talk about that in this episode. So joining me in the Wave Rider is
Rob
and Ross.
And I'm Liam. And remember, if you like this episode, you can subscribe to us everywhere where podcasts live, and you can find us across social media. Just look for Legends of Podcasting. Let's start the show.
During the 21st century, comic books conquered the world and murdered everyone's spare time. I have assembled an elite team to hunt comic book stuff down throughout media and to cover their rise to power. Unfortunately, my plan is opposed by general life obligations, meaning instead of daily, we can do this weekly, thanks to something we have sworn our allegiance to: time management. In the future, we ourselves may not be heroes, but if we succeed, we will be remembered as the Legends of Podcasting.
Okay, so The Death of Superman. I've mentioned this before on previous episodes. This is one of my favorite storylines in comics. This is the first major storyline that I actually got for when I was young. The Death of Superman, World Without Superman, and Return of Superman, which is the Reign of the Superman story arc. It's fantastic. Whereas we know it's Doomsday is buried deep underneath the earth, suddenly just comes out and goes walking in a straight line, rampaging through anything and everything that's in his path, destroying everything, doing most of it with one hand tied behind his back. No one can stop him except for Superman, and it ends up in a big showdown in Metropolis where Superman and Doomsday fight to the death, with both of them dying at the end. Or do they? As we know, spoiler, they both come back in the future. This is comics. But it's fantastic. We have seen this story be adapted into an animated movie previously, which was called Superman Doomsday, where they made some big changes to the story, and it wasn't the story that we got in the comics. It was just really Superman v Doomsday. And we got a little glimpse of how this could have been in that little 75th anniversary of Superman animated short that Zack Snyder did and put online, and where it shows Superman through the years. And then you've got a brief little moment there that showed Superman fighting Doomsday, and that looked awesome. And it looked, it wasn't totally true and faithful to the artwork that you got in the comic, but it was pretty darn close, which was really cool to see. And we've now seen this first glimpse, this one frame of it looks like Superman rescuing Lois Lane, and there's a little bit of a crowd. I assume this is in Metropolis, and that's the one frame we've got. So we can now see the artwork. So, Rob, what's your thoughts? Your first reaction on seeing this bit of artwork from The Death of Superman?
Interesting. From looking at the artwork we've seen, it looks like they're tying this closely into the rebooted animated universe, so film continuity that they've been doing. That I think contains the Batman and Son lines in the two Justice League movies, along with the Teen Titans one. So if they're going to continue that should be quite interesting, I think. I know Ross doesn't like it because the S on the cape's wrong.
No, I don't mind it. I think I've really enjoyed the story that they've been telling in the animated series after they brought out the new 52. I think it's been great. So for him to continue on is quite good, because we've got to know this Superman over 5 films now. So, and in the last 2 Justice League films, Throne of Atlantis and Teen Titans versus Justice League, he did actually have the black S on the cape. So at least they can do the pole with the tattered cape flapping in the wind. So
which being a black S and the fact that he's dead at that moment, the black S, that can actually work quite well. Initially, I was kind of annoyed. As we saw on the Superman Doomsday, it was just a red cape without the S on it. So it was really just a red blank or tablecloth.
Oh no, Thor died.
Yeah. So that really lost any kind of iconic imagery with that. So. It's not having the yellow S on there it's kind of disappointing, but you know what? I can get over it. And
Yeah,
my first reaction. Oh, go on.
I was wondering if the other iconic thing that you saw from a lot of the comics that were tied into that was the armband that all the other heroes in the universe were wearing, the black armband with the Superman shield on it.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. So it's my first reaction on seeing that image was of utter disappointment, because when they announced that they were doing this, they said that they were going to do it right. They said they realized that, I can't remember the exact quote, but they said something along the lines of how they realized that they didn't stay true to the comic in the Superman v Doomsday animated movie. So this time they were going to do it right. They're going to spread it over 2 movies, and they were going to stay true to the comic. And I was thinking that with that they would do similar to they did with the Frank Miller Dark Knight Returns animated 2-part animated movie. They did with that, where they managed to make it look a lot like it did in the comic. They did a really good job, and I love that. They even got a soundtrack that worked really well. Like the score for it really made it kind of fit in with back when that comic was done. It had to me, the music kind of score had a similar to kind of vibe to like RoboCop, in my opinion, with that kind of music. But dark, and it worked really well for me. I loved it. So seeing how they managed to copy the artwork from that, I was really hoping that they were going to, or really expecting more than anything, that they were doing the same thing with this, and that they were just making this a standalone, separate from the current continuity, animated 2-part animated movie, and they were going to really make it look and feel like the comic that I love. And so I was hugely disappointed to see that it wasn't that version, and that instead it's looking like the New 52 one, the new modern artwork for the animated movies. That was my initial reaction, but I got over it, because I also think it is pretty cool, the idea of taking that story and reworking it to fit within this current timeline. That's kind of an interesting idea. So if this story now takes place after like Throne of Atlantis and everything before it, so with all the characters having gone through what they've gone through before this, and with this lineup, well, this is a very different lineup of heroes. Like the Justice League that we've had so far, it's not the same as what we had in the comic.
I'm going to annoy Stu because he's not here today to talk about this, but this is where I think it will work out better than it did in Batman v Superman, because obviously just throwing Doomsday in at the for no reason other than we need some kind of climactic battle, it just ruined that whole plotline for me. It's one of my major problems with Batman v Superman as a film. And obviously we've had in this animated continuity now six films. I'm going to throw out a wild guess at 6 movies, where you've seen all these characters built up. They've all got relations. They've all got personal stakes in it, and you've got a Superman that you know. So I think this is going to work. I think it could do very well.
Yeah, I agree. This does have actually the potential of working out very nicely. I hope that we haven't seen. Obviously, they've changed the artwork of Superman to make it match this current universe, this current continuity of animated movies. I'm curious to see what they do with Doomsday. I hope that they don't make any radical changes to his appearance. Obviously he's not going to look the same as he did in the comics because it's different art. But I hope he has a familiar feel, at least.
Well, there are 3 things I want to see in this that will make it an instant hit for me. Number 1 is Superboy's 90s costume.
Yeah.
Binoculars and everything. Number 2 is the super mullet. You can't have a Death of Superman story without the horrifically 90s mullet that stayed around for a long time, too longer than it needed to when it came back to life.
It's not too long. They should bring it back. I love the mullet.
Yeah. And finally, you can't have a Death of Superman story arc without Booster Gold running in to save the day and getting heroically launched into orbit for his efforts.
Now, I want to add 2 other things to those 3. I want to see Lex Luthor killed and come back as the Australian Lex.
Oh,
the young version.
That's fantastic, yeah. Australian Lex.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And I really want them to also do the Clayface Supergirl, the Matrix Supergirl, where she can shift and
stuff. The weird alien.
Yeah, I really want to see that as well.
Yeah,
that would be
Superman was
interesting.
Really 90s.
Because they haven't brought Supergirl into this universe yet, so
But that's
this could be
the
a way
thing.
that they do it.
But would they? I mean, that's the thing. Now we're talking about them adding a bunch of extra characters all in this movie, and are they? Because also that Supergirl dies in, doesn't she die in the Death of Superman story arc?
Yeah.
So they're not gonna. I don't think that they would introduce a character like Super that hasn't existed yet in these movies and then kill her off as well. So I don't think we're gonna see Supergirl. Also, I would love to see Booster Gold. He is one of my favorite superheroes, and he's another one where, just like Shazam, to me, it makes so much sense to make a movie on Booster Gold because he's a non-superhero. He's someone who's basically a loser in the future that then just steals some technology and a library robot that has the history, all the history records in it, and steals that to go back in time, and then gets a superhero. It's a similar thing to Shazam, where it's a kid that says a magic word becomes a superhero. This is a guy who has stolen technology and is pretending to be a superhero. Like it
and the
makes
comedy
so much
you get
sense
from
to do
him
it.
and Skeets,
So
where Skeets
cheesy.
is always correcting him and making him look like an idiot, could come off really well.
Yeah, that's the thing. It would be so much fun to do a Booster Gold movie.
Did you ever see there was the Justice League Unlimited episode. Is it called the Greatest Story Never Told? Where there's some epic battle going on in the background. The entire Justice League's involved in it, and Batman relegates Booster Gold to like civilian duty, and it's the entire episode's focused around him. And it shows you what kind of a hero he can be, but in the same time, that's why nobody in Justice League respects him. And he gets outclassed by Ralph Dibny of all people. The episode's really, really good. If you haven't seen it, I recommend watching it just for a good Booster Gold introduction. There's this world-ending cataclysm going on, and Booster Gold's in the background just trying to help civilians out.
That's funny. That's I guess that's kind of like a beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, where it's just focusing on Baby Groot in the front and a big fight going on in the background, but you're just looking at Baby Groot.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, like Booster Gold, I love him, but it's another thing where I don't know if they would introduce him into it as well, because you introduce a character like that, you want to give him a chance to breathe, and I don't know if we'll really get that opportunity with this. And also, the first time to introduce him, and he ends up fighting Doomsday. It's yeah, I don't know. So that's
in the original comic when he just gets launched into orbit and has to be saved by Superman.
Yeah, that would be funny. He just suddenly appears and then gets launched into orbit. You're like, "Well, hey, great debut." But yeah, that's what makes it interesting, is that the lineup that we've seen in these animated movies is different to what we had as the Justice League at the beginning of, and Teen Titans as well, at the beginning of the Death of Superman, because if I remember correctly, don't the Titans go up against Doomsday as well?
I think they're briefly involved. Oh my god!
Like
I just remember
briefly
the
at one point.
Justice.
I can't remember because there's a team where that family, there's a family house that gets torn to shreds, doesn't it? And they try and help him, and then Doomsday just comes in and kills them all. But I can't remember the lineup of who it was, because I haven't read it in such a long time.
It was during a period of time when they were shaking everything up, because the Justice League didn't have any of the main three in it, and it was being led by Guy Gardner, the Green Lantern of all people. At the time.
So that's the thing where it is going to be very interesting, because it's cool that they are doing a fuller version of the Death and Return of Superman story arc. They're clearly not staying totally true to the comics, but it will be interesting to see it with this current lineup of the Titans, of the Teen Titans, and this current lineup of the Justice League, because that lineup also includes Shazam in the animated movie, and Cyborg being a member of the actual Justice League.
And you've got Aquaman as well, who wasn't in the original.
So this will be interesting to see how this all plays into it.
I found the actual quote that they said here. It says the latest adaptation will faithfully be more faithful to the source material and much less condensed than the Doomsday that came out in 2007. It will also include many of the fan favourite moments from the story that were left out of Doomsday.
Yeah, mullet.
Well, yeah, it's it's going to be interesting.
The other thing that I thought was interesting from the photo was in the universe so far, Superman is dating Wonder Woman, but he's saving Lois in that. Now, are they going to change that and he's actually with Lois, or is this the start of their relationship and then he'll die quite early on in it? You know, it'd be interesting to see what they do with that.
Yeah, no, it's a valid point. It's going to be interesting. So I am excited, despite my initial major disappointment at seeing that picture.
Thomas, we might be completely wrong. It might look like it, but it isn't. You know, they just copied the costume a little bit, just to try and make it tie in a little, and it's not going to tie in at all, and it is a separate story. You just never know, do you?
Well, if it's not going to tie in at all, and it genuinely is standalone, then I'm going to be just really actually artwork. So, like, changing the artwork makes sense if they're making it fit this continuity. If they're not, then yeah, I'm going to be really annoyed at this.
Just a quick question, because I haven't watched the Teen Titans one for a while. Superboy isn't in that yet, is he?
No, he's not.
So I'm just thinking. Obviously, the reign of the Superman would be the chance to introduce him to this universe.
Yeah.
Along with Steel.
You could have them join it at the end. Yeah, that'd be great.
Steel's a great character. I've always liked Steel.
I'm looking to
not the Shaq movie.
Do you not see the film?
The Shaq movie was just ridiculous.
Everyone's
ridiculously bad.
Black Panther's the first great superhero film to star a black lead. No.
Well, they were wrong. It was Steel.
It was Steel. And Spawn. And Blade. And
because it'd be interesting. I can't wait to see what they do with Mongul as well, because I've always liked Mongul as a bad guy.
Yeah, this is it's exciting. I am looking forward to. I'm back to looking forward to this this 2-part animated movie.
Out the three this year, this was the one I was looking forward to the most. I mean, I wasn't looking forward to Gotham by Gaslight, but that really surprised me, and I enjoyed that. So I'm really looking forward to Suicide Squad. Was it Hell to Pay? Something like that.
The follow-on from the original Suicide Squad animated film.
No, it's not, apparently.
That's really disappointing, because they did a really good job with that.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So that's it for this episode. If you liked this episode, please like it, comment wherever you found it. We're across social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Just search Legends of Podcast and leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought of this little bit of art that you've seen, and how excited are you for this Death and Return of Superman, or the Death of Superman and the Reign of the Superman, 2 animated movies that we've got coming out? How are you feeling? Did you like the comic originally? Let us know. Start a conversation. We'd love to hear from you. And also, please remember to subscribe to us. We are wherever podcasts live. You can find us on Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio, SoundCloud, pretty much anywhere there is podcasts, you'll find us. So that's all from me, and until next time, catch you later.